Hi everyone. Hope you had a very nice lunch and ready to digest new insights, because I think with the presentation how research teams can deliver higher quality insights faster, this should be very insightful, so prepare to digest that too. I think it's going to be a very practical presentation, and Vasiliy today is going to share how to reach stakeholders efficiently, how to get access to all data sources, talk about peer review, and maintaining knowledge bases. So Vasiliy here is the data science team lead at JetBrains. Great. And he also worked on many different things as an engineer. And yeah, let's give him a very warm welcome.
Hello, everyone. I'm the person who loves challenges. Who is the same? Don't be shy, raise your hands. Oh, I see there are quite many of us. It's not a surprise for me because we're data scientists, data analysts, researchers who tackle with challenges every day. And this past August, I had one of those, but I would say more physical experiences. So I finished triathlon of Olympic distance that included 1.5 kilometers of swimming, 40 kilometers of biking, and 10 kilometers of running. And this is me happy crossing the finishing line. But I would say that competing at triathlon is challenging. And it's not just about endurance or strength, it's about having the right tooling. I see the same similarity in our team, where we use some set of processes and tools that help us to achieve peak performance and get quality research results. But before going further, let me introduce myself first. I am Vasiliy Kaminskiy. I am team lead of data science research team at JetBrains. And today, I would like to talk specifically how we set up our research process in the team that let us generate impactful, game-changing research results, and most of the time, do it quite fast. When I first joined JetBrains, it started a high growth with many new ideas, many new projects. And by 2022, our company had 34 products in portfolio of the company, like DataGrip, PyCharm, DataLore, the product that you may already know or use. A year later, there were plus 4 new products. And this year, the company added plus 5 new products. So our team, our research team, wanted to help the company at the same pace, but not lose the quality. At the same time, the amount of research requests has grown tremendously, both from new and existing teams. And at the same time, the complexity of research is also increased. So our processes have been changing constantly to fulfill this demand. And through this constant change of processes, we distilled our research process into 9 steps that are shown on the slide. So we tackled with issues at each step separately instead of trying to cope in them and tackling with them at once. So what I will do next, I will go through each of the step and highlight key issues that we faced and how we solved them at our experience. It may be interesting whether you already have some research processes or you are building them from scratch or you are conducting your own research, so it can highlight some key points. So let's start with the first step of the research is request ideation. And imagine here that you have a bunch of colleagues, stakeholders, that have many business questions and hypotheses. It may be either product or department leads who are preparing some product strategy or department strategy for the company. It may be marketing specialists who are preparing the next marketing campaign, or it may be a product owner who is thinking about the next feature for the product. All of them might be interested in questions about trends, users, or market. For example, how many data scientists are there worldwide? What is their preferred tooling? What is the market potential of, let's say, Argentina? And answers on these questions can leverage their marketing and product impact. But there may be too many of them. So at this step, I just felt overwhelmed, like here. And for us, it is really important at this step to define the clear place where we manage all the incoming research requests and discuss them, sort them, prioritize, and then focus on the main thing we do, that is research. We don't want to overcomplicate things and demand something energy-consuming from our colleagues. So we have a format called Ask a Researcher for an ad hoc questions. For such questions, we may have some similar research made in the past or some relevant data or dashboards. For other questions, we can require some full-scale research with data collection parts and so on. So we require to create a new track issue. It's the task management system we use. So this is how we ask initiators to define the issue. We ask to define and describe the general idea, some specific questions, and indicate relevant stakeholders. All the further communication goes in the created issue, and we use some kinds of agile board to manage our tasks daily. So let's go further to briefing and stakeholder management step. Imagine, at this step you have a clear task, but there may be too many stakeholders with different sub-goals and sub-questions. Of course, they may have like one single business goal, but different sub-goals and sub-questions that are tightly connected but are different. And it's not a good idea to separate them, because in this way you can lose some very important piece of puzzle. Or another big issue, there is a hidden, let's say, colleague or stakeholder who is not aware of the research, but who is very, very important in the final decision. For us, it is important at this step to define all explicit and implicit stakeholders of the research, to understand their goals, their hypotheses and beliefs that we may face further during our work. Most of the time, we just gather together to discuss the business context, the questions they have, and as a result, we compose a brief where we indicate all stakeholders, their hypotheses, questions, decisions that they are going to make. And this is just plain Google documents where we all collaborate together. But I would say that this topic is quite hard and many things can go wrong at this step. So I would personally recommend these two books. They're quite short. They're namely a practical guide to dealing with difficult stakeholders to be more prepared at this step. And another book is Practical People Engagement. So let's go further to research, design, and planning step. At the previous step, we get a bunch of hypotheses and questions, but it's not every time clear what data sources to use, what statistical or machine learning methods to apply, what metrics to calculate. And sometimes you even get some false sense that some metric X, let's say retention rate, is all what is needed for the analysis. But I would say in most time it's not the case because it can't describe the whole complex picture. To face this, we devote our time to design and plan the research. So we explicitly write all data sources that we are going to use, all metrics that they are going to calculate, and sometimes even visualizations to so stakeholders can get even some expectations on the final results and discuss them. And one important question here is how we make sure that the proposed research design is much as quality and can provide as most comprehensive answer as possible. I would say, firstly, we are not the single research team at JetBrains. There are other research teams that we can consult and discuss. Some of them even specialize on other research methods like UX research, so we can do a joint research. Secondly, we actively brainstorm together inside the team to brainstorm ideas. And finally, the research design is reviewed by stakeholders, but most importantly, by experienced data scientists who can understand the fit of proposed research design to the business problems and maybe propose some ideas. So this is how we solve it. And when we understand what data sources we are going to use, what questions we are going to answer, we go directly to the technical part of data collection, data processing, and data analysis part. And here we had 4 main issues. The first issue is related that we had much tooling. And our onboarding or daily routine became more complex. So we needed to switch between SQL scripts that we worked with DataGrip and some databases, to switch between Jupyter notebooks and PyCharm to work with Python codes, to switch between Google Documents and GitHub during code review and version control. And the transition were not always, all the time, quite smooth. So we even needed some manual, I would say dump work, just to put the file from one folder to another to start the analysis. Another problem was that we generated our reports for stakeholders in Google Documents. They were static, so we couldn't embed some dynamic visualizations, and that limited us to show complex visualizations and describe complex data. The third issue was connected to versioning. So it took just our precious time to commit and push changes every day and to keep it in consistent manner. And the last issue we faced, that artifacts were not all the time stored in consistent manner. They were in different data sources. Yeah, it was a really important issue. So as a team lead, I evaluated some products that were available on the market to streamline the research process like Hex or Deep Notes. But at the same time, I discovered Datalore. It's a product that was already available at JetBrains. And I started to use it. And it's really popular to dog food our products inside the company. And of course, as a part of JetBrains, I believe in these products. I actively use latest features like related to AI code generation and push my feedback to the development team. And from this point, our team was in a quite unique position that we can get direct technical help from development team, and it's free for us. So what is Datalore? Datalore is data science platform which enables you to perform all data science related activities in one place. So how it solves our issues? We were able to move all our research related artifacts to the research notebook, namely SQL scripts, business recommendations and conclusions written in Markdown, like old legacy R code chunks and newer Python code. Also, it made our visualization more rich because we started to use such popular visualization libraries like Let's Plot or Plotly that lets you to create interactive visualizations. At the same time, we now create interactive dashboards with input controls. Like here, we add some sliders, drop-downs, text input, so our stakeholders can recalculate the results based on these inputs. Also, Datalore make versioning under the hood, so we can revert back to the certain version of the reports. And the important moment for us in the team that it doesn't require any extra steps for us. So I would say we start to save at least 1 hour every research we do, just because we don't need to commit and push changes every time. Now, all the artifacts are also stored together and connected to one research notebook. So small data sets we just put in research notebook file system, while bigger chunks we put into AWS S3 buckets and attach them to the notebook in the same manner as other data sources we have. So yeah, this is how we solved, and I would say that these solved issues made our data analysis routine like more consistent and more efficient. So when this technical part is done, we're ready to prepare the report. And I would say here that our report, it's not just about dry set of numbers and tables. We also provide our expert opinion based on analysis we have done. So we prepared some templates to just not forget the key points. When the report is prepared, experienced data scientists come to conduct a peer-to-peer review, code review. Sometimes we even invite colleagues from other teams who may be quite experienced in particular topic. So they may further shape the final results. And this step, of course, also about the quality. So we had two main issues at this step. The first step is reproducibility, and the second step is commenting, because comments were distributed in different systems like GitHub for code version during code review and sharing the codes, UTrack, Slack, Google Documents. So the first issue was quite easily solved because Datalore is like remote environments for all the users. So all the dependencies, interpreter versions are the same for all the users. And speaking about commenting, it allowed us to leave the comments in the same manner as we got used to before in Google Documents. So the transition worked quite smooth for us. And when the research is done, it's finally time to show and discuss with stakeholders. But here we also face some issues. For example, one stakeholder didn't have time to read the report because he was too overwhelmed with his own issues. Another stakeholder just forgot what was the initial idea because he already has another project. And of course, there is perfect stakeholder who read the report, even prepared some questions. To cope with all this mess, we prepare the discussion with all the participants. And depending on the readiness of our colleagues, we choose often between two scenarios. We either go to live demo, where we show the numbers, the results, the tables, and providing our comments about the analysis. And if they are not aware of the results or understand them quite poorly, we go, we conduct live demo, but otherwise we can go directly to Q&A part, where we can moderate the discussion. And in the best case scenario, it leads to the decision-making process during the discussion or right after it. And I would say that as for any other project or work, feedback is also very, very important for research projects. It's maybe like this, quite general and positive, or it may be related to the timing of the research project, or it may be related to data quality, or to research design, that some questions wasn't addressed. That's why we gather all the feedback, both automatically and manually, because we think it's really, really important. We use automatic surveys when the research is done and the issue is closed in UTrack, so we send the automatic surveys to our stakeholders. Secondly, we can see some mentions of decisions were made or our research results during some company-wide announcements or releases. So it indicates that our research really impacted the decisions. And lastly, we may have some informal conversation with our colleagues during lunch or some corporate events, so they may share their thoughts about the results. And there are both positive and sad things about the feedback. The sad moments related to the research projects when the results were not used for decision making. And most of the time we can find objective reason for that. But in general, we consider it's a bad scenario because otherwise we could devote our time and efforts for another brilliant idea that could shape the future of the product. At the same time, the constructive feedback is pleasant to hear. It keeps up the motivation and joy from the work, so it's cool. And the last part is related to knowledge sharing. I would say that every research project is a unique experience because it can contain some unique approach to methodology or to apply statistical or machine learning methods or some really interesting visualizations or results. So it's really good idea to share all this knowledge with your colleagues to make them more prepared for working with your projects in the future or with the same obstacles, similar obstacles in the future. So that is why we conduct retrospective sessions inside the team quite regularly, where we discuss all the steps, starting from initial discussion and request ideation until the final presentation of results and the feedback. Besides of internal knowledge sharing, it is really important for us to contribute to the company-wide research knowledge base at JetBrains. And it is highly efficient because colleagues can find the information by their own, and they don't even need us, researchers, for that. We also have some Slack bots that they can chat with and get like ChatGPT like experience. So I showed you all the research process we have, and I think that research process is really tangible because it can shape some brilliant idea and bring new users, revenue, or whatever the goal of the company. And during my speech, I highlighted many issues that we face regularly along this bumpy road. So I mentioned how we deal with request handling, how we make design of the research and how we plan it. I also mentioned how we save hours from optimizing really small things like versioning control, how we consistently manage all the artifacts of the research together using the right tooling. And finally, I showed how we discuss the research process with our colleagues, starting from initial discussion until final presentation of results. So our team handles and answers hundreds of questions per year. And we get quite positive feedback from our colleagues. So I hope that this presentation will somehow help you to improve your research projects. So thank you for participating in this journey, and would highly appreciate if you reach me after my talk and share your experience about your research process. Thank you once again, and would be glad to answer your questions. Thank you.
Yeah, big thank you, Vasiliy. So now we have some time for a Q&A. So as your team answering thousands of questions, I think you can handle a little bit more. So yeah, let us know if you want to, yeah, over there. I'll come to you with a mic. Sorry.
Hi, great presentation. I just have a quick question. Sometimes the research can take a long time. And if stakeholders have, can you do a quick and dirty analysis or just feed everything that you have to solve a problem? Like, how do you deal with that? Because it could be a POC or it could be some analysis that you want to do, but then you can't just follow the entire research methodologies or, process because it can be time consuming. So, like, how do you deal with this?
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's a really good question, and I didn't mention this part explicitly in my presentation. I just mentioned that we split to some ad hoc requests, really fast requests for 1 and 2 days, but other requests are also vary by duration. So on average, our requests just take like 1 or 2 weeks, but there are some long-term projects like marketing campaigns attribution. It's like building machine learning models. They take really long time. So in this way, when we compose a research design, we split the plan by blocks. So we explicitly write what will be included in the first iteration. So let's say we will discuss the details of the data with digital marketing team and get the data about site visitors, marketing campaigns, clean it, and then on the second stage we will make some prototyping of machine learning model. So at this way we also like try to split it by several subtasks. Thanks.
Thank you very much for highlighting such important topics. I have a question about stakeholders' expectation management, especially in case of a project with negative impact. Can you share your best practices, how you mitigate those risks, which I think not zero probability in the research area, when actually the project fails, and how you can mitigate these risks, especially dealing with stakeholders, which usually have a great expectation and they usually expect that everything will be fine. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. It's a great question, and this topic is really complex because it contains a lot of like outliers and a lot of special cases. So I would say that at this step, the briefing really helps to define the expectations. So when we define it, we show to the stakeholders so they understand that, okay, you will take these data sets, you will calculate these metrics. They already get some kind of expectations. And speaking about the risks, I am trying personally to identify this at this early stage. So it may be either that the stakeholder is just using the research result to confirm his hypothesis, but not just to adjust his strategy. I consider it as a best scenario because if the result doesn't confirm his hypothesis, he won't accept it and use it further. So if I identify it, I try to refuse to colleague. So, my answer that the refusal in some times is really a good way to dealing with them, because in this case we can save our resources and devote it to something better. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Over there.
Thanks for the talk. I was wondering how you prioritize those requests, because I imagine that you have more requests than what you can deal with. And then also because you mentioned that sometimes they could have multiple follow-ups. So you start with maybe an analysis and then later on it will go to a machine learning model. So how do you prioritize the advance of those requests versus new requests also that are coming?
It's a very good question. I would say that we don't have a really strict process because, in my opinion, it should be based on some strategy of the company. And in this way, we have many departments and products with different strategies. So at the first step, we try to understand whether it aligns the strategy of the company or the product. For example, if let's say the toy example, if the product set the goal to increase the revenue, but then they come with some research requests that can potentially increase, I don't know, the meal at Coffee Point, then we understand that we can deprioritize it. Yeah, so mainly we are basing our prioritizing decision based on the strategies of ourselves and of our other departments.
I think we have time for just one question, so make it short and impactful.
Yeah, thank you for the talk. So my question is about post-mortem process. So when you already presented the research, the stakeholders made the decision, and the results, do you validate the results of their actions, which were based on your research somehow?
Yeah, this is how I think part of your question I addressed on feedback part. So we read some company-wide announcements about the product that it was released, and most of the time, product manager, they also mention that we, for example, made some features for this for the data scientists, because we see some potential and research team help us to discover it. So this is one way. Another way, we also speak to our colleagues, stakeholders, so they explicitly say us, okay, yeah, I used these results, or no, the methodology, I don't believe this number, they are too big, for example. So the really hard question to find the reason and to cope with the issues of the methodology. But yeah, it's the continuous process. So we can, for example, find more quality data, apply more sophisticated statistical methods, and make the results better.
Okay, thank you.
And yeah, thank you, Vasiliy, and thank you for all the insightful and nice questions. With that, we conclude Q&A. So give another round of applause to Vasiliy. And if you have more questions, just chat with the speaker after.